Am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because it has started to rain in here in Rourkela. I don't know, at any point of time there may be a power off, so I'm ready with my mobile also. But anyways, today nothing so much to record, so I will speak up and just find out. This will be very common because most of these, the rest of the natural disasters, there is not too, you cannot do too many things in as an architect though, but just to be informed, because you don't know at which site you will be getting a job at. So the next type, we discussed about tsunami till tsunami last in the last class. So today we are starting with cloud bursts. CLOUD BURSTS, cloud bursts, which is like condensation of cloud for a short while, but resulting in tremendous downpour or excessively heavy rainfall. Okay. Heavy rainfall is determined not by the span over which it is raining, but how fast it is raining. That means within say 1 hour, if almost 100 millimeter of rainfall is accumulated, so 100 millimeter, you can understand 10 centimeter of rainwater throughout a particular area just in 1 hour is devastating. It can lead to flooding conditions also. But cloudburst is something that a cloud is constantly gaining in vapor and getting condensed and condensed and condensed. Suddenly, because of something, for within a short span of time, the whole water comes down. We have our system of drainages to slowly mitigate the water. But if suddenly you give a rush of water, it will lead to flooding. Okay. And due to flooding, you know that even if it is raining torrentially for constant time, no issue. You can manage. Most of you can manage. Most of us can manage. But in a very short span of time, if there is excessive quantity, like quantity wise, there is excessive downpour, it can cause not only flood, but along with flood, it can take away, uh, what do you say, lives, kettles, houses. Okay. So loss of property and life can happen. So there is something like generally from 1 minute to 1.5 hour is generally the duration that has been observed. 1 minute to 1.5 hour is the general duration of this cloud burst. So you can understand that in one hour, say 1.5 hour, in how much millimeters? Say the worst possible found in say the some South American countries in the tropical rain forest areas, where like, say in 1 minute there were almost 40 millimeter or 4 centimeter of rain in 1 minute. So that is devastating. You can just imagine, multiply it by how many, 60 minutes. So for 240 millimeter almost 240 millimeter of rain in 1 hour is like it good enough to have at least the ground floor of all the hostels in NIT Rourkela, particularly hall 8 and 9 underwater, or even KMS underwater. Okay. So now if you multiply the quantity, and if the duration is increased and still you have too much of downpour, cloud burst, then it is a problem. You all, I guess you all recall in 2017, 2 years back in August in Uttarakhand, there was a cloud burst when the Gandhi Sarovar was constantly giving off vapor and huge accumulation of cloud happened, and it hit the hill, and then the Kedarnath and all were all flooded. It damaged the road, it damages infrastructure. So you can take note of this, that cloudburst causes problem in loss of life and property. So loss of life, property. Heavy floods damages roads, infrastructure, and causes difficulty for rescue missions. Okay. So you know that even after this Kedarnath floods and all, for many days the Air Force chopper cannot reach higher altitudes because there was no infrastructure for that. The infrastructure which were existing were all damaged. People could not reach to rescue. Okay. So if this cloudburst is reducing, or even if it is stagnant, then for consistently long time you can face heavy rainfall. So outcome of cloudburst is actually heavy rainfall, and that might lead to a disastrous condition which can be different degrees of flooding. So flooding, you know that flooding, what does it causes? In higher altitude, it causes damage of properties or life. In lower areas, cloudburst, if it happens, uh, just day before yesterday, I heard about Jaipur. I don't know whether you have heard it in the news or not. Jaipur, this statue chalk of Jaipur, none of you, no, your batch has not visited. Ankush might have visited though.
I don't know.
You have seen the video. So Jaipur was flooded like anything, and it was just looking like as if the dams have broken its barrier. Okay, the roads were having whirlpools of water and all. So actually, what happened was the drainage system was choked. The drainage system of Jaipur was never meant for such a heavy uh, rainfall. Okay, consistent rainfall for one whole day and all. So the drainage system was overflowing. That caused the roads to become drains and leading to floods. Floods can fury away, or it can carry away human beings, animals, vehicles. So those further chokes the available openings and all. And the cities like Delhi, cities like Mumbai, cities like Chennai, they are all habituated because Delhi is not planned with to take excessive rainfall, and the coastal cities like Chennai and Mumbai, they are land is sometimes lower than the sea level during the high tide. So water comes in the reverse direction. The sewages, the sewer lines fail in this heavy rains and all. So still now, today's day also, the news is coming from Mumbai that there is heavy flood coming out of excessive rain, which may not be a flash flood. Flash flood means in a flash it has been flooded because of excessive rain. So not the span. Sorry. So it is the span and the quantity of rainfall that will lead to a disastrous condition or a hazardous condition. So it is very difficult to go for a warning system as a preventive measure. But if you know that certain areas are prone to this kind of flooding, say very close a place where there is a dam, and for a few days there has been scorching sunlight. So excessive evaporation has happened, and excessive humidity is also an indicator. So that means there is no ventilation. Wind is not blowing away the cloud. So once the cloud becomes saturated with this vapor, is going to come down. So it is better to take shelter in covered highest part of buildings, avoid lower floors and all. So it is similar to flood warning systems only, preventive measures. So the next one, let's take up flood, because we have found that this flash flood leads to say this cloud burst leads to flood as well as flash floods. Okay, so let's discuss what a flood is. What is a flood, Padmesh? What is meant by a flood?
So when excess water comes in, then it's raining.
Okay, it can be with rain, it can be without rain also. That is the first thing. But flood is not, it doesn't necessarily requires excess water. Flood is actually a condition where an area is, yeah, Amartya, you want to add something?
So when there's no way for water to go out, when it gets stagnated.
You are all telling the cause of the effect. What is the flood then? You are saying now that you are in a safe place, but the rest of the areas are flooded. So what is mean by flood? I have given you the clue in this statement only.
Sir, submerged under water.
Exactly that. Just simple as that. Flood means submerging of an area. It can be dry submerge also. For example, you can be flooded by sand. You were in the sand dunes and all, and then you are submerged in sand also. So still it is flood. Okay. So submerging of area, whether it is dry, it might have been dry also, or it can still be dry. So suppose you are embedded and there has been a sand dust and you are embedded below the sand. So what will you call yourself? In which condition you are? You are trapped. But trapped in what? Under what under what condition? What is the disaster called? So it is a kind of flood only. But there is sand. And whatever Padmesh was telling is also right. Flood has another definition. Some people defines flood as a place completely submerged underwater which would have otherwise been dry. So a dry area can be dry, but some fluid has come up or some solid burden has come up, that can be a flood. Or else an area which is essentially supposed to be dry but is now submerged underwater can be called as flood. Okay, so is it is just like an overlap of the general ideas that you are having, but a bit more specific. We have this habit of using terms like there was a rain for an hour and the whole hall 8 was flooded. Okay, so that means in other days hall 8 ka ground area or the area should have been dry, but there has been rain which led to this flood. It might be something else also, that the NIT jheels and all these are getting cleaned, so they let loose the water, they pumped it, and where they pumped it into the drain of nearby hostels and the roads, so they can also get flooded. It doesn't always require a rain to get flooded. Or the dams in a higher altitude, when they release excessive water and the catchment in the lower course cannot take up that excess water, still it can have flood. It is generally known as breach of dam. Okay, just a couple of hours back we were discussing breach of contract, so this is breach of dams. So some dam has certain water and it has supposed to retain that water, but after a particular level it cannot go with that and it breach the water level, and if it continues to have more water the dam will break. So to avoid the damage of economic damage, they let loose some amount of water. Okay, very common in Raurkela when the Brahmani or the Mahanadi in close vicinity near Sambalpur and all, when the Hirakud dam releases water, the nearby areas get flooded. So flooding is a situation of submerging of an area. Okay. It can also happen due to excessive siltation of the sewers and the drains. So if there is excessive siltation, what reduces? Suppose there is a drain, long drain or water sewage system, and due to excessive siltation during the non-monsoon time, it has become shallow. So what do we call it? What it has like something has reduced? What is that? You have done in your building services. What is that known as? The water carrying capacity has reduced, or you can say the runoff has reduced. Okay, so if that reduces, it can again lead to a flood. So what we should do is, if it is a flood in happening because of excessive rain, or say in the Himalayan belts or in the higher altitudes where you have snow catchments of snow or snow peaks, after consistent sunlight, when the snow melts, it gives rise to the volume of water. Now if the river basin is not capable to take that much water, it overflows on its banks. Okay, we have heard about the Uttarakhand floods many a times. Almost every year it has in different degrees, but if it floods major cities, excessive life losses happens, it is high hazardous, then it comes in the news, then we get to know. So say in single day there is heavy downpour, it can lead to a flood depending on. So condition of flood is doesn't depends on the supply of water, but how easily you can get rid of the water. So drainage results into the degree of deterioration resulting out of a flood. Okay, but remember the coastal tides, the daily twice the tide water takes it up and low, high tide and the low tides, they are not flood, but the coastal areas might face a problem of flooding if this high tides are coupled with strong winds, cyclonic winds. So that will be a different class. It might lead to choking of the sewage pipes, which were on the other day leading the sewage water directly to the sea, or it can give rise to tsunami, so which we have already discussed. So they are not purely floods. Okay, something which also triggers out of flood is, which you might take care of, where architects can intervene, is hazardous constructions are more vulnerable towards flooding, because flooding can lead to not only flowing of the building with it, or damage of the structure, but also electrical short circuits and all that can result out of flooding. So planners should also take into the consideration. If you are taking urban planning, you will know that how a cities are planned, in which slope. You should not slope the city away from the output belts, that means the wastewater collection side. It should be sloped in such a way that naturally through the roads and the drains the water should accumulate in a sewage dumping areas or the rivers and all. So if you do the reverse, then there is a fault in the planner's part or the architect's part in designing. Again, if you have your toilet in a higher location, higher higher side of the site, then again you have done then still fine. But if you have the toilet in the lower side, so you are cleaning the rooms, terrace, waters and everything, and your toilet is always stagnant with water. So that is also a micro scale flooding, because flooding is a situation. It doesn't need excessive earthquake and tectonic movement to flow in water. It is a situation. Okay. Now this flood becomes a flash flood when in a very short while excessive amount of accumulation of water happens, leading to submerging. That means it has not given the time to evacuate the place. You were seeing that a flooding is slowly happening and there is no chance of reduction of rainfall because rainfall can be predicted, but you didn't get time to evacuate the place. And in a very short time, from somewhere, who knows, particularly this happens in the high altitude reservoirs and dams. So when they release a water, a river bed which was completely dry suddenly gets flooded with water, and it doesn't give time to take yourself away from the danger zone. So some of you who is living in Kerala maybe are in a zone where it is flooded now because of excessive rains and these landslides and all. But some of them has got a time to get protected in a higher altitude where there is a less chance of this flood. But suddenly it might happen that even in from a higher altitude, the barrier has broken and there are a lot of trees and loose soil along with loose buildings, faulty buildings coming up and then taking away buildings which were not hazardous. But the stronger force of this flow with more generated acceleration is taking away everything on its way. So that might lead to a flash flood. Flash floods, so it depends on the scale of the flooding. Okay, it depends on the scale at which the flooding is happening or the span of the time which is happening. So it is generally distinguished, flash floods are distinguished from regular floods from the time scale of less than 6 hours, which are caused due to heavy rainfall. So whatever should have happened during normal flood over a span of more than 6 hours, if that is happening in less than 6 hours, then the same flood is known as a flash flood. Okay, that is the maximum duration that is taken. It can also happen like whatever was the rainwater that should have flown for 4 hours, if it is flowing in less than 4 hours, leading to some flood, and it is not giving proper time. For example, say a glacier has melted. So many of you have seen in this Nat Geographic and all, people go to this Alaskan Ocean to see the breaking of the glacier. But when the glacier breaks down, it generates a tsunami kind of thing, a surge in the wave. So sometimes that tilts the ship from where you are watching it. Okay, so that is also a kind of flash flood because the amount of water that was coming, the rate has now increased. So it can be accelerated or catalyzed due to excessive heavy rainfall, melting of ice glacier, or maybe because of failure of man-made structures. For example, you have prepared a dam which after a particular level there is a fissure. That means there is a fracture and water is coming out like anything and there is no control. It cannot be controlled. Okay. So this causes problem to what? It can causes problem to the human habitat region, either in a low-lying area or even a hilly area also, nobody knows. It can even cause problem to desert area because desert areas are not built or designed to tackle excessive flood water. So suddenly in desert area, when it rains, it generally rains less, but when it rains torrentially. For example, say the cloud that gathers on the Arabian Ocean over Maharashtra and Gujarat, if it is pouring the total water in Udaipur of Rajasthan, then how much water can the Pichola lake take up? So sometimes sometimes all the nearby city, okay, Udaipur is in a highland, but there are a lot of other parts in the surrounding which are in a lower lying area. Okay, so for example, say you have certain sarovar in Gujarat. In Gujarat, there were rivers. You have seen the Sabarmati river front and all. I guess most of you have seen. So it is almost like a river which is a stagnant lake because the source is cut off, the end is cut off, and people are taking water from Sabarmati and draining it back into Sabarmati. Now suppose there has been a tremendous depression, high rainfall, excessive rainfall, leading to flooding of this river. So what will happen? It has been locked from either sides. So it will start flooding. And if you remember that when did it happen in 2000? If I remember 2015 or 2016, when it flooded in Gujarat badly, not only human being, not only loss of habitat for human being, but also the lions of the Gir forest, they were found holding floating buildings in the Arabian Ocean. Such devastation was because it was a flash flood. Nobody realized that small shallow catchment of the river or multiple rivers won't be capable to take up so much of rainwater on a particular day. Okay, so this is floods and flash floods. Next natural disaster, now I will go very quickly, is landslides. Okay, so let me show if I have a handout of landslide. Sorry. Can you see my screen showing the stability of slopes in a diagrammatic manner?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So see how the different scales of a slope, okay, leads to failure of the subsoil. You are on top of a hill where there is a load on top, so it can, due to load on top, small chunks can break, and it generally, these cracks, these curvilinear lines are generally the difference or the light joins between two different tectonics. Okay, so two different materials or say two different layers of the earth crust. If there is a relative movement in between those two, then one of the top surface will let loose and they will slide down. Generally it happens on the slope, not in plain land and all. So see here the causes of landslides are written: absence of vegetation on the slope due to natural cause like fires or by cutting of trees. So now you know that in this particular slope, if you had trees, the root of the trees would have done some stitching through this parallel or almost parallel slope lines. So different layers would have been tied together by the roots of the vegetation. So this cutting of trees is detrimental and leads to landslides. Next is groundwater pressure from within pursuing the material. That means if there is constantly groundwater moving from under the soil, slowly, the surface, the rock surface above the water becomes loose, fluid, and then it flows off. Okay. Next is the base or the toe material of the slope being washed away. So you are standing on a particular wooden plate on a wheel maybe, and suddenly somebody pulls away the wheel from the base. So what will happen? You will fall down. It would be very difficult for you to stand. So if the base failure happens, the picture shows the same thing. It might lead to landslide or weakening of the slope or liquefaction of the slope material. So here you can see the slope materials, if they gets liquefied due to continuous percolation of water, then they will fail after a particular while. That means their internal resistance is not allowing it to have any grip. So in this slope failure, the lines you can see, the curvilinear lines where this slope failure or toe failures are written, the layer of soil on above it and below it, below these curves, cannot have a mutual grip with each other. So this slides. Okay. Now it is very difficult to estimate the degree of deterioration because of this or the damage because of landslide, because it is completely geological situation. The geology decides that how much damage will be happening, because it is not only the land that is getting deteriorated, but how much of habitation and vegetation were there on that particular loose soil and all, that will also decide total damage that has happened. For example, say soil erosion, coastal soil erosion is a kind of landslide only. Okay. So is it clear? Is the landslide
Yes, sir.
clear? Okay. Now I will try to get into few more natural hazards, which I will just mention the names because they generally do not happen in India. First is a snowstorm or a blizzard. Okay. So a storm where the snows are moving or the dry ice is moving and it settles down wherever the wind speed reduces. It creates abrasion on the wall, it creates problems for human being because the temperature of it is low. So generally, even if the wind speed is 35 to 70 kilometer per hour, but it carries away snow with it. So it is just tremendously dry, and it is something like you are getting a wind, but suddenly a tree branch flies along the wind and hits you. So something like that happens when a snowstorm hits. Snowstorm generally has less amount of snow compared to a blizzard, Blizzard. Okay, that's only difference. It depends on the quantum, and probably you can understand that it will, the snowstorm or the blizzard will only happen where there is a chance of loose snow. Say Switzerland में, yeah, हो सकता है. In the northern states of the USA, it can happen. In the Hindu Kush range of Afghanistan, I'm telling this name because say in Mongolia, which is a cold desert, it can happen because there are snows available where, but it is, these places are equally windy. Okay, there, because of vast flat land, the wind blows as well as the temperature, the altitude is such that there is also accumulation of snow. So two together causes some damage, and you can understand human activity gets completely paralyzed if you have these blizzards. If you have a proper home, you are trapped inside. If you don't have a proper home, you actually die of a disease known as hypothermia, where you freeze to death. Your blood loses its viscosity, its movement, which is known as a hypothermia. So that's why the Canadian states and all the cities in Canada or North America, they have from government, they supply this hot water pipes in your house, in chains, in pipes, so that it keeps the internal space warm, so that your blood has optimum temperature to flow. Okay. Next is hailstorm. Hailstorm is when there is wind and rainfall, but the temperature is so low that it is not a snow. That means it is not dry, but small lumps of ice started forming. That means the temperature is somewhere between how much? Temperature of the water is below how much? Maybe below 4 degrees or maybe below 0 degrees. Yeah, 4 degrees Celsius, right? So 4 degrees से अगर नीचे चले जाते हैं, so slowly formation of ice happens. So that means the cloud, it is actually rain, but the cloud is even from even a higher altitude, and once it comes down, the temperature doesn't rises too much. So then these hailstorms happen. Okay, so it is like getting injured by rain. It happens in certain places. Even we have felt the hailstorm in Rourkela sometimes. A couple of years back, we have felt it. Okay. So can you tell me what is the best way to prevent damages from hailstorm? Pragya, you were saying.
This sloped roof.
Okay, so that is your design perspective. But if you don't have the possibility of a sloped roof, why not a flat roof?
Because in case of flat roof, it directly hits the roof. And in case of sloped roof,
So
it
the
leaves.
ultimately the roof protects you in anyways. Roof will never break because of hailstorm. It doesn't even breaks the Mangalore tiles also, the burnt clay tiles. But it causes problem on your skull, crust.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if it falls on your head, then it is a problem because of its shape, size, and different other things. So the best way to avoid it is to stay indoor. Whenever there is a hailstorm, don't be very courageous to take the mobile outside on the terrace and click a photo of that, but preferably stay indoor. In that way, you can reduce the damage or loss of life because of hailstone. Next is avalanche. AVALANCHES. Okay. Let me share if I have a presentation. Yes, I have something. Is it legible or should I go for a full screen? I guess it is legible. So avalanches
sir.
also happens in high altitude snowy patches. It may have snow. That means the snow is something. Ice is different from snow. Ice is generally wetter when the water is generally getting converted to a solid form. But snow is a different form of ice altogether. It is not moist. It is generally dry. It melts only under pressure, and it is the crystal sizes are even finer than ice. So in avalanches, what happens is a landslide. When a landslide is accompanied by snow, so it is something like a snow slide. So if there is a pressure difference in between two different layers of snows, so there was a snowy slope and say कल रात भर फिर से बर्फबारी हुआ है, so it has snowed even, there was a snowfall even for the rest. But इसके बीच में क्या हो गया है, there have been lot of dust and slopes, dust and some other impurities on the previous layers of snow. So the new layer of snow can slide by its own weight. जेम्स बॉन्ड मूवी में बहुत कॉमन है, ठीक है. And it is very dangerous because if you see the trans-Siberian railway tracks or the road tracks, the snow, the sliding snow, just like landslide, it is now snow slide. Rapid movement of snow, which can also take you or the human being or vehicles or lose houses or hazardous houses with it. But good thing about snow is that it will only happen in particular seasons or weather when it snows. So avalanches can be avoided. First is avoid passing through the areas which are dangerous or which are vulnerable, which has got reported cases of previous avalanches. So I have shown you some like avalanches happens in different countries, but different countries has different notation. So beside the road, if you see this yellow color flag somewhere, it will mean that there is a low risk or limited risk of avalanches. Somewhere steep slopes are there, but moderately the slopes, the snow are stable. If it is a black and white check, black and yellow checker, then considerable to high risk level. That means it might have an avalanche. If there is excessive snow overnight, then in the next day there are chances of avalanche. So it is better to avoid after it has snowed. After there was a snowfall, it is better to avoid. And there are some places which experiences snowfall throughout the winters and all. So those are black color flags are mentioned because wherever there is snow, it is expected to have too much bright reflection of light. So the colors are differently chosen that you don't mix it with normal traffic signal, but it is clearly visible. Okay, black definitely on a ice background is clearly visible. But you have different standard of these flag colors, which is like signage on the road for different countries. Okay, the right hand side small table is the color along with, if this is a new one, the color along with notations. So here you can see that the amount of snow that is getting flown from the avalanches in the orange, red and black color are also shown in the picture. Okay, so if it is the extreme one, you have to avoid all avalanches terrains, all the terrains which are connected by avalanches and all. If it is higher, it is dangerous in particular conditions. So if it is moderate, then you observe. If you feel that it in the next if you're driving through a zone which might have an avalanche, it is better you camp, you wait and observe that whether it is snowing throughout night or not. If it is not snowing, then the previous day snows has settled down and you can pass easily. Generally not seen in India, but it is observed by these border security forces when they travel to Arunachal Pradesh or higher altitude of Uttarakhand or Ladakh and all. There, this avalanches happens. Okay. Next is cold wave. Okay, cold wave happens in particular geographical zone only. It is strong wind, just like cyclone, coupled by low temperatures. Okay. So by default, the ambient temperature there is 0 or sub-zero or close to 0. That means Arctic conditions or Antarctic conditions, where this cyclonic winds reaches from the tropical areas and then generates this sea breeze, which results in cold waves. Okay, and cold waves are generally very dry. So the problem that happens out of these avalanches, maybe you are trapped, but problems arising out of this hailstorm or this what do we call blizzards or these cold waves are, it will freeze. Your blood needs to be at a particular temperature. If it is less than that, then there is a chance that your blood will freeze and it will immediately cause some problem known as hypothermia. Hypothermia might lead to death. Okay, first of all, your body will become pale black and then it can be fatal. So again, for these also, staying indoor is given for precaution. You are suggested to keep stay indoor, as well as keep the animals, the cattle and all or pets indoor. Now this can, since the temperature is very low of this cold wave, it can also reduce the electricity in open wires, in high tension wires. They may also freeze, so better have power backup possibilities, as well as keep stock of hot water for usage. Okay, so that at least you cannot open the door. If you open the door, cold air is going to come in. So at least drench your foot in some hot water and avoid this cold wave. Okay, the next one is heat wave. We are done with cold wave. Next we have heat wave. Okay, the basic reason for heat wave is cyclone over deserts or hot areas, the equatorial cyclones, global warming. We are constantly adding our exhaust of air conditions and humidifiers to add lot of unwanted greenhouse gases. So have you at all any of you have stand beside a diesel engine's exhaust or the exhaust of an outdoor unit of an AC? So the thrust, the hot air that you feel is a heat wave. Okay. Now if you can imagine that, that is a small 1.5 ton or 2 ton outdoor unit of compressor AC. What happens if you have a desert where that amount of wind is flowing from all directions for multiple days, excessive temperature lasting for many days? In Rourkela, if you remember 2-3 years back, you were facing these hot waves while coming to going from the second half the exams after 1 o'clock. You are going from after in the April month, if I remember. You were well going from the exam centers LA to your hostels. Few of you complained about bleeding of nose or drying of the inner part of the nose. That was because of the heat wave. It is not only the heat, but the wind is blowing, which is even hotter. So actually you are breathing in a lot of hot air inside. Okay. Okay. Another common thing is drought. So if there is less rainfall for many years together, no crops are going, populations are migrating from that particular place. Okay, by migration you can save yourself, but what about the animals and the cattle? We have given a picture, if you remember long back in the first class, that people were migrating from one place to other because of some factors. Flood can be a factor, but it can also be because of drought. Drought is receiving scanty rainfall during the monsoon season of the country. Like you don't expect a summer to have rainfall. So in summer, if it doesn't rain, you don't call it a drought. But during the time when it was supposed to rain, if there is a scarcity of rainfall, then we call it a drought. Particularly, have you understood what I tried to point out?
Yes, sir.
Is it understood by everyone?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Somebody said no.
Sir Vivek.
Vivek, okay, I will repeat. In summer or in winter, when generally the weather is dry, if in that on a particular summer day, if you don't have rain, we don't call it a drought. But at time when you have already sown in the seeds for paddies and wheat, and you were expecting rain, and lot of trees were there which needed the rain to give the fruits and the flowers, in that point of time, if there is a scanty rainfall or there is no rainfall, then that situation is called a drought.
Yes, sir.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So drought can affect agriculture, horticulture, mostly the environment and the agriculture sector is affected by the drought because human being can save themselves if they have alternatives. Poor, again the point comes poverty. Poverty leads to death because of drought. Preventive measures, what are they? It includes water resource planning and development. So if you are expecting a drought from these albedos and all, or you are informed about this solar radiation that is going to prevail in the next upcoming summer or monsoon, and if you know that monsoon is going to arrive late, so start planning beforehand. Judiciously use water and utilize the water body, care for the environment, keep the trees planted at least. Okay, so these are preventive measures which you can do, as well as what you can also do is in those particular time, try to reduce the effluent coming out of industries, or you migrate to a different place where you don't have the problem with this, because if this drought leads to loss of life of human being and animal, then there are some more disasters which are going to come. Okay, drought and famine comes after this drought many a times. The Central African countries, the equatorial countries of Africa, they face a lot of famine because of drought. For years together there is no rain. Underground potable this water layers are all drying up. Okay. Some other thing is like you can reduce the usage of electricity, because generating electricity in plants requires tremendous quantity of water. Cleaning of coal and all, they are all wastewater, and you are taking underground water, pumping it up, washing it because you need clean water, and then throwing the wastewater into the river. Now river water doesn't necessarily recharges the aquifers below. So proper planning is required. Now by planning, I am not telling you have to be a planner. You can be an architect. Architect plans in a small scale, in a design scale, but they can also, like, you have taken this subject and not went for this green certification system because you are not entering the core, you may not be entering the core architecture, but getting a planning or a broad level idea, a planner's level idea. And so you are not looking after one house, but you are looking over a neighborhood or a community. Hence this subject is offering you this particular ideas. So if there is a drought, it will lead to famine, F-A-M-I-N-E, famine. Okay. So famine is declared when there is a severe scarcity of food resulting in malnutrition and even death. It can arise. Okay, so scarcity of food resulting in malnutrition. So scarcity of food is happening, why? Because either the import taxes are higher, or the supply of food is not there, or it has not rained and you have not been able to grow the food which you will supply, or even the farmers will have their own food and survive. Still that is not possible. So it can happen because of failure of crop. It can happen because of swarm of locusts destroying the crop. It can also happen because of trivial things, say poor crop management. So you are supposed to sow in a particular crop in a particular season and you have not done that. You have done something else. So in proper time you don't have food. The crops have not ripened over the proper time. You can have a famine. Or it might happen something like a population of a particular area, a city has grown suddenly very high without actual increase in the food production for that particular city. So relative famine can also happen. Okay. And very common thing which you are seeing nowadays are some of the what I will say, some people are hoarding food. So they are keeping away onions with themselves, potatoes with themselves, and they are not selling and waiting to create a artificial famine. A pseudo demand is getting generated, so they will sell it at a higher price. So hoarding by unscrupulous traders, that is what we call. Then there may be some state policies. There are some state policies that this year we will not hold so much of water for irrigation and all. We will flow it in the river because downstream they need that water. So you don't have water for irrigation, you don't have food, leading to famine maybe. Okay. So that's all about famine. Next we have the other disaster, which is wildfires. Okay. Now tell me frankly, when we started thinking of studying this disaster management subjects, did any of you feel that there can be so many different kinds of natural disasters or so many kinds of disasters?
No, sir.
Okay. So this means that once you know all the different kinds, you would be able to segregate each kind from anything else. You should know what is a famine and what is a drought. They are two different things. They happen because of failure of two different things altogether. So if there is suppose there is a famine where you needed food, but you are blaming it to drought. So what you do is, after you have suffered from a famine, there is no food anywhere, you are supplying water. So the dam is releasing water. What will happen? Neither you have food, next you will be flooded away. Because you have not been able to address the actual cause of problem, actual cause of disaster. Okay. Coming to the next is wildfire. Now it is the uncontrolled combustion of vegetation. Generally it occurs naturally, but it is uncontrolled. That means it cannot be controlled. It can generate out of, say, have you heard recently about the bush fire of Australia? Anyone who has heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Others have not heard. Okay. We were signing lot of petition. Many of you have floated petitions to sign.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there was a small fire, maybe because of anything, maybe because of underground trapped this natural gases which came out and caught fire, or it can happen because of generation of methane in solid waste in landfills, which gets transmitted. So once we have a solid waste dumping ground, what we do is we try to protect it with lot of greenery, trees, so that the city, and between the city and the solid waste dumping ground there is a buffer, which all of you do conventionally. You do in your site also, where you put the garbage bin, beside that you have a tree lining. But once those trees catches fire because of gas, poisonous flammable gases generating in those dumping sites, it can be methane, it can be like, it can also be accelerated by supply of oxygen. Trees keeps on supplying oxygen, and oxygen is combustible. It enhances the fire, it helps in spreading of fire. Dry leaves can lead to fire, or in today's day most of the dumps that we do are combustible or inflammable particles. So with the wind, and because of high temperature and low humidity, so if there is high humidity, there is a chance of less propagation. If the humidity is low, then it will spread fire fast, right? So since it happened in the summer, so it spread faster. If it would have happened in the monsoon, then within 1 or 2 days it would have dried out. So that's all about wildfire. Okay, wildfire can pose a challenge to people living in the area bordering this wilderness, that means uncontrolled growth of forests and all. India mein hota hai, in Uttarakhand you see these forest fires, but they are not necessarily always wildfire. That means they don't spread uncontrollably. Immediately what people does is they cordon their trim of series of trees, so they break the chain and stop the like propagation of this wildfire. Quickly let me complete a few more, which is epidemics. Epidemic is a situation in which a new disease starts propagating at a faster rate than the normal occurrence which people would have expected. Common example is what we are facing right now. So if it was a normal cold and flu or pneumonia or influenza, we know that over a span of 10 days having certain medicines, it would have lead to a solution. But now the disease has started spreading in such a speed that it cannot be controlled now, and it is infectious in nature. So the conditions favorable for the spread of this kind of epidemics can include contaminated food and water, migration of population from the disastrous zone, or carriers of disasters like rats, mosquitoes. So if you have a dengue, if you have a malaria, mosquitoes are the carrier. Okay. Or arrival of a seasonal epidemic, say diarrhea, typhoid. In a particular season every year, certain people face this problem. So that can also lead to epidemic. Or because of some factor, immunity of a particular people of particular location has gone down. So that can also lead to epidemic. For example, say I know people working in uranium mine in a local in Jharkhand, in Ghatshila, where is the uranium corporation limited or something is there. So they know that they are working in today's day with a risk of health hazard, and they know that they are not going to survive after 45 or 50 years because their immunity is every day going down due to exposure of higher order metal. So that is also that might also create an epidemic someday. Who knows? Because epidemic cannot be clearly predictable. So the decrease in the immunity in say cement mine and all, or this kind of atomic mines, nuclear mines, can also reduce the immunity, thereupon boosting the chance of spreading of epidemics. So epidemic causes a problem, but more than that, the spread of the epidemic, at what rate it is getting infected or the disease is spreading among the community, determines the scale of the epidemic. There are a lot of ways: direct contact, airborne disease through insects or carriers, or it can be biologically from intermediate hosts and all, it can be transmitted. There are different ways. When we will do the tutorials and all, we will just get into the detail of those epidemics as and when required. You all would be designing you all are designing a health facilities to prevent this epidemic, right? So you can take consideration from the studies if you do it in detail. You can do the studies from the Ebola, the African Ebola that happened. Ebola has been happening many years. In 1976 से लेके 2018 तक भी Ebola आया था. Okay, it was culminated within the swines or the pigs and all, or some other things, and then it was communicated to different countries. That can be natural disaster. And the last but not the least is like extinction. Natural disaster. These dinosaurs have extincted. So has it led to some disaster? We should ask ourselves a question regarding that. Say comet has fallen on a particular city. So the whole city is devastated. It is extinct. So it is a natural cause. Because of the natural cause or this atmospheric cause or the environmental cause, or maybe because of man-made cause, certain section has been extincted. So extinction or impact of extinction can also be called, I am not very clear, I don't clearly pressurize on this, but it can also be considered as a natural cause of disaster or a natural disaster. Say extinction because of any such thing. Okay, so these are the different kinds of natural disasters. So we will complete up today here because we have probably one more class after this, and from on Thursday we have 2 consecutive classes. We will try to start and complete all the man-made causes. So only after all the different causes of the disaster and the different types of disasters are clear to you. Okay, it is something like you are sitting in a flight cockpit and you are asked of something and you have to immediately point exactly at those buttons. If you miss the button, something is going to get wrong. So only if you distinctly know the disasters and the sources of the disasters, natural ho, artificial, man-made ho, then only we can go for management. So before starting the management situation, we need to be very clear about the different types of disasters. Now I can take 1 or 2 quick questions if you want to ask. Anything.